October 31, 2017. 7 days in January. Arrests begin as Trump counterattacks against Obama-Clinton coup. An absolutely stunning Foreign Intelligence Service SVR report circulating in the Kremlin this very early morning is describing what it calls a real-life 7 days in May movie scenario currently underway in the United States, where forces loyal to President Donald Trump have just launched a counterattack against his deep state Obama-Clinton regime enemies seeking to overthrow him in a coup, with this 1964 American political thriller movie being described as having fictionally depicted a military political cabal's planned takeover of the United States government in reaction to the president's negotiation of a disarmament treaty with the Soviet Union. Note: some words and/or phrases appearing in quotes in this report are English language approximations of Russian words, phrases having no exact counterpart. According to this report, the referencing of the 1964 movie 7 Days in May is in relation to President Trump taking just 7 days to begin his retaliation against the Obama-Clinton regime's attempted coup against him, with Trump having taken office on 20 January, and just 7 days later, on 27 January, having FBI forces loyal to him begin an interrogation of a known subversive operative implanted into his 2016 presidential campaign named George Papadopoulos, and as the criminal indictment against this person states, on or about the 27th day of January, 2017, defendant George Papadopoulos did willfully and knowing make a materially false, fictitious, and fraudulent statement and representation in a matter within the jurisdiction of the executive branch of the government of the United States, to wit, defendant Papadopoulos lied to special agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, concerning a federal investigation based out of the District of Columbia, about the timing, extent, and nature of his relationships with certain foreign nationals who he understood to have close connections with senior Russian government officials. As to how George Papadopoulos was able to be inserted into the Trump presidential campaign in the first place, this report explains, involves a modern-day Ides of March counterpart occurring in the United States during March 2016 that refers to the date of 15 March 44 BC, when Roman Emperor Julius Caesar was assassinated by those whom he believed were his fellow countrymen, when a longtime Washington, D.C. super lobbyist named Paul Manafort was named Trump campaign manager in March, and who, within days, brought aboard Trump's presidential campaign Papadopoulos too. Also, in March 2016, this report continues, Hillary Clinton and her Democratic National Committee began secretly funneling up to $12 million to a shadowy political opposition research organization named Fusion GPS, and who were joined the following month, April 2016, by the Obama regime, who secretly funneled to Fusion GPS another nearly $1 million. To the operative parameters of the Obama-Clinton coup plot against Trump, SVR intelligence analysts in this report explain, are mostly simplistic to understand, and that includes: unbeknownst to Trump, in March 2016, Paul Manafort had become an operative for the Obama-Clinton regime who had been wiretapping him since 2014 due to his money laundering activities related to his working in Ukraine. Once embedded into Trump's campaign, Paul Manafort brought into it the foreign policy advisor named George Papadopoulos. Once both Manafort and Papadopoulos were embedded in the Trump campaign, Fusion GPS contracted with former MI6 Russian desk operative Christopher Steele to begin creating what is now being called the Russian dossier. While Steele was creating his fake Russian dossier, Paul Manafort engaged in continuous efforts to get Trump to meet with certain Russian oligarchs. Likewise, George Papadopoulos engaged in sustained efforts to get Trump to meet with people associated with Russian intelligence and/or those close to President Putin. Though neither Trump, nor any of his campaign associates, accepted any of the Russian meetings proposed by either Manafort or Papadopoulos, in June 2016, Fusion GPS was able to insert one of their paid operatives, named Natalia Veselnitskaya, into a meeting with Trump's son Donald Jr. as to the hows and whys of the Obama-Clinton regime even allowing a major U.S. presidential campaign to have appointed as its campaign chairman a person they knew was under constant surveillance due to his criminal activities, this report continues, is a criminal act in and of itself, and that was realized by NSA Director Admiral Michael Rogers, who, in mid-August 2016, notified Trump of what was occurring with Trump, then leaking the facts of Paul Manafort's criminality to the New York Times and then promptly firing him. Immediately after Trump won his November 2016 presidential election, though, this report further notes, NSA Director Admiral Rogers then defied his U.S. military chain of command and flew to New York City in defiance of President Obama to meet with Trump, and where presumably he laid out the entire outlines of the coup plot being planned by NSA Director Admiral Rogers, having warned Trump about this Obama-Clinton plot against him. This report continues, was what enabled FBI forces loyal to then-President Trump to interrogate George Papadopoulos just 7 days after he took power, with it being critical to note that at the time the FBI interrogated Papadopoulos, on January 27, 2017, Trump was in control, not Obama or Clinton. In deciding how best to utilize Papadopoulos against both Obama and Clinton, too, this report details, President Trump knew he needed to eliminate FBI Director James Comey, who was part of the conspiracy not allowing Trump to know that Manafort was under constant FBI surveillance for his crimes, and whom Trump fired on May 9, 2017. Trump's firing of FBI Director Comey, this report continues, ignited a leftist furor in the U.S., causing Attorney General Jeff Sessions to appoint a special counsel named Robert Mueller, but with barely anyone noticing that the day prior to Mueller's appointment being announced, he and Trump had met secretly in the White House for, at least, 4 hours. With special counsel Mueller being in charge of preventing the coup against President Trump, this report details, he allowed George Papadopoulos to remain free in order to use him as an informant, and who was sent to London to meet with MI6 operative Christopher Steele, who had created the Russian dossier for Fusion GPS, but with Papadopoulos being secretly arrested at Dulles International Airport, in Washington, D.C., upon his return on July 27, 2017. Armed with the information recordings about Christopher Steele provided to him by Papadopoulos, this report continues, special counsel Mueller then sent his interrogators to London to confront him, and thereafter it being leaked that Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman John Podesta, and his super lobbyist brother Tony Podesta were now Mueller's targets, and for which Papadopoulos received a sweetheart plea deal allowing him to remain free with no restrictions prior to his sentencing, and Mueller further recommending to the U.S. federal court that Papadopoulos's sentence only be 6 months. As to Paul Manafort's fate for his being a part of this insidious Obama-Clinton coup attempt against President Trump, this report concludes, Special Counsel Mueller filed a massive indictment against him that includes the crimes he committed long before Trump ever knew him, and whose partner in crime, Democratic Party super lobbyist, and Hillary Clinton supporter, Tony Podesta, has just suddenly resigned and, most likely, is headed for the hills.